Okay, this is Artstarzz talking to you from St. Petersburg, Florida. I just got home probably about an hour or so ago. As far as I know, the operation it went okay, but I was told this wouldn't hurt, and it hurts like a son of a gun. So if you ever go to get this operation, yeah, it hurts. It doesn't hurt when they're doing it to you. Why? Because you're asleep. And then you wake up, and the game is a little bit different, a lot different. So I'm going to do my best to describe what this was like now that it's kind of clear in my memory. I had morphine about, I think it was 10:30 or 11:30 a.m. was my last shot of morphine. So I may still be under it because the whole time I was there, I was taking morphine every 2 hours. And, I always thought that this was a wonder drug, that once you took the morphine, you weren't supposed to feel anything, but that's not the case. And it's not a psychological thing because, I didn't know what to compare the pain to, so that I couldn't say, well, I felt this before, because I didn't. So let me take you through all the steps. My appointment for surgery was at 8 o'clock in the morning. So Nina and I got up, got ready. I stopped eating. My appointment was on the 15th, and I stopped eating on the 13th. So I kind of got my wires a little crossed there. I was actually supposed to stop eating on the 14th at midnight. That's when I was supposed to stop eating, but I stopped eating on the 13th at midnight. So that was already kind of a problem. But when you're getting ready to go through surgery like this, you don't have much of an appetite anyway. I didn't. I wasn't sitting there and saying, wow, I wished I had something to eat, because I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel like, I wanted to eat. So we sat there and we waited till about 9:30, I guess. And then, it was my turn. There was quite a few people there. I'd say 25 or so, getting ready to go in for different kinds of surgery. But they set us all up for 8 o'clock, and then when they get to you because, you don't know how surgery is going to go. In other words, the surgeon may go in there for something, what seems to be a simple operation, and then something goes wrong, and the surgery can go on all day. So if you were scheduled for that surgeon and something went wrong, you're not going to get in there until he's done. It's just as simple as that. If they were operating on me, I wouldn't want them to say, oh, well, we got to go. We got another guy waiting in the waiting room, and, just wrap it up, fix what you can, and let it go. You don't do it like that. So anyway, apparently, most surgeries went well, because I was in there, an hour and a half later than I should be, I guess. I don't know exactly how it works. Maybe they plan it that way. So finally at 9:30, they called me to go in, and I went into that little waiting room. As most of you that's ever been to the hospital knows how that works. You go from one room to another room, and then the one room is where they prep you and get you all ready for surgery, put in the IVs and everything that you're going to need. So with my kind of surgery, they put in 2 IVs. They put one in my left arm, and that was going to carry all of the stuff that's in those bags, that they hang from, that are your IVs. Like I said, I'm probably still a little high from the morphine, so I'll do the best I can to explain this. But anyway, on the left arm, they put an IV in there, and it wasn't an ordinary one. They when you go into surgery, they don't put the ordinary little IVs in there, like if they're going to just take blood and stuff. They put a kind of a big one, in case they've got to give you a lot of fluids fast. Then they just open up the valve and let it flow. So that was on my left arm. Now on my right arm, they put this other one in. It looks kind of like a sewing needle, kind of like. Or maybe a giant IV needle, but it's plastic. And you can literally look at it and see where the hole is on the needle. That's how big it is. I'd say if you measured it across, it might be a 32nd of an inch across, something like that. Pretty big for a needle, though. So what they do with both of these is they give you a local anesthesia. They poke you with this needle, and it really works. It numbed both of them up, and I couldn't hardly tell that they were putting all these, big IVs inside of me. So they get both of those in, and get me all taped down and everything. And now, I just got to wait for the surgeon to come in and talk to me. The anesthesiologist got to come in and talk to me. And the nurses that's going to help the anesthesiologist comes in and talks to you. So all these different people come in and talk to you and ask you questions and stuff like that. So they all come in and, ask you if you know what the surgery was for and, why you needed it. And so you answer all of those questions. And then they give you something to relax you. It's not the morphine. The morphine's for the pain. But this is just to relax you. So they give you something to relax you. And then they hook you up to some oxygen that just goes up into your nose. And then they explain to you that when you get into surgery, that they're going to put that thing down into your windpipe to help you breathe. You see it on TV all the time, or if you've ever been in surgery, it's that white tube that goes down your throat. And, should something happen and they have to put you on that ventilator, well, they don't have to go through all kinds of changes. You're already set up and they can help you breathe right away. If your heart stops or something like that, you're already all hooked up. The reason for the big needle on my right arm was in case I needed a transfusion, a blood transfusion, and I needed a lot of blood fast. Well, then they put it into that needle and then they pump all the blood into you really fast. So they got me all squared away, and then they roll me to the emergency room where they're going to do the operating. And it kind of looks like I'm in a basement somewhere. It's not real attractive looking. And then all the nurses that are going to be assisting in the operation come around and they ask you questions. Again, do you know why you're there? And they joke with you and stuff like that and kind of get you to relax. And then they start saying, okay, well, we're getting ready to start. And the doctor comes in. And by then, you're gone. I don't remember anything. I don't remember blacking out. I don't remember anybody counting. I don't remember having to count. They were just talking to me. I was talking to them. And the next thing you know, I'm waking up. And I really don't remember waking up like when you wake up in the morning, how you remember waking up. I don't remember that. Next thing, I was just awake. That's how I felt. And I was in the intensive care. So in the intensive care, you're laying in there. Oh, I forgot this other part. When they check you in to this hospital, it's a brand new hospital. It's only like 2 years old. Part of it's only like 2 years old. And it's like checking into the Starship Enterprise, kind of like, or checking into an office that the FBI may own or something like that, because you don't sit there and fill out a bunch of papers. You give them a palm print. They scan your palm, and you sign on a little digital keypad that you might sign, whenever you use your credit card or something like that. You sign that, and then all the papers get signed. That's all. And then you go into another office, and then they go over all the papers that you signed, but they're electronically signed. And then all the procedures start. So like I said, you take your palm and you put it over this little machine and it scans your palm, and that's your signature from that point on. When I checked out, I didn't have to sign a bunch of papers. I noticed that. I didn't have to sign a bunch of papers. I just left. They put me in a wheelchair and rolled me off. So now I'm in ER. And, they're treating me real cool and talking to me real nice and checking all my, where they cut me at. And I don't know where I'm cut. I'm not exactly sure what they did, but that's what these diagrams are for that I have up here. So I can show you what they did. So let me bring up this one right here. Okay. On the left side over here, this one right here. Okay, they cut me about right here. Right in here, they cut me. And that cut seems to be about 3 inches long, and it's stapled shut now. It's an ugly looking thing, my skin's all crumpled up and stuff, and they cut me right here. And let me bring up this one here. Whoops, let's see what we get here. This is going to bring us to a full size. Let's see if I can get this. Okay, hold on 1 second here. This wants to bring us to a full size. Full screen. Okay, right here, this big vein, let me see if I can bring that in a little bit more. Okay. So you can see exactly what they did to me. Okay. And I'll come down like this. And then I'll do this. Okay. So bring this down a little bit to right here like this. Okay, this big vein right here, okay, they cut into that for some reason, or cut it out, and there's a big cut here now, about 3 or 4 inches long, right along this vein right here. And what they do is, wait, no, I take it back. It's right here, right along this bone here, right inside here. I'm cut right here. And then they go down, and they put me in a tube now that is going to run along this area here and then run into this area. Let me bring this up just a little bit without getting too pornographic here. Okay. Then they bring it to this area here, kind of like in here, and they tie in to this area in here somehow. So now I've got a new tube that runs all along this side here, and it ties into this right here. So that's why my side all in here hurts and my left leg burns, because now I'm pumping blood into a leg that probably hasn't had any good circulation for years. So that's what's going on as far as where the operation is, where the cut is. So let's get me back to here, and let's see here. Get into here like this. Well, this isn't going to cooperate just right now. It's going to want to go to full screen all the time, and that ain't what I want to do. So we'll try this, and then we'll try this. There we go. And this, and this. Maybe this one better. There we go. There's everything right there. So what they have to do when they do this, let me zoom in on this a little bit now. And while I'm doing this, I feel okay. As long as I'm sitting like this, I feel okay. Nothing hurts at all. My leg feels a little tight, like a sunburn. That's about what it feels like. So let me bring this in a little bit, like that. Okay. So they had to come in here. I don't know if they came. I would think that they're in behind my rib, like this. And then they come down. I think these are my lungs right here somewhere, and then they came into here and they tapped into this area right in here somewhere. That's how they did it. Now they don't remove anything. Whatever there, whatever clogged, they leave it there. And I don't know, spare parts for later, or I don't know, but I asked and they said no, they just leave it there, and I guess they clamp it off. Or once it quits working, once it's disconnected like that, there's probably a little bit of fluid left in it or whatever, and your body takes care of it somehow. But anyway, that thing comes right here, all along like that, down in behind your ribs, and it taps right into this big thing right here. And then it goes, and now I've got circulation in all of my feet and everything again. And my right leg had it. It was okay. Just my left leg was blocked. So they said that hadn't I gotten this operation, that I stand a good chance of getting gangrene and losing my leg, possibly both legs. So that's the importance of this operation. It wasn't just a, let's do it so that your leg don't hurt anymore. It was so that, that I didn't lose my leg. That's really what it was for. So that's the operation, and now I'm over in ER. Okay, so they got me in ER, and they treat you really good. Anything that you want. I mean, they just treat you really, really good. I mean, do you want something? How's your pain level? And there's certain things that they can do. They said they can only get me morphine every 2 hours, and according to their calculations, that's all I should really need. And as long as you're laying still like that, that is really all you ever need. You don't need anything if you're not moving. It's when you start to move that you get the pain, and your leg burns inside that area. Let me show you right here. Inside, let me show you right here. Inside this area in here, this is my left leg. All of this in here, right in here, feels like a really bad sunburn. That's the best way I can describe it. It feels like a sunburn, because you know how when you get a sunburn, your skin tightens up? That's what it feels like. It feels like your skin is tightening up, or your arteries are tightening up. That's what it feels like. But it's actually just the opposite. You're starting to get circulation there. And right now, I feel fine. I got up a few minutes ago, and it hurts to get up and down. That left side hurts, and I could see why it hurts, because they had to run that new tube. It's a tube, some kind of plastic tube that will last me 30 years. That's what he said. It'll last 30 years. So they got me all fixed up for now. As far as I know, everything is okay. And now I just got to heal a little bit. And then once I heal, I'll be able to walk again, because I couldn't walk, because as soon as I started to walk, I would get a really bad pain right here on the outside, up in here. I'd get a real bad pain, and then after a while, I couldn't walk. I don't care how tough I thought I was. I don't care how much I could stand pain. It would just start to give out. It wouldn't work anymore. So I had to be careful, because I also have some blockage in my carotid arteries. Now, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they're carotid arteries. I also have some blockage there. Let me see if I can get this down and bring this one up. Let's see if we can bring this one up, and I'll show you what I kind of blockage out. Okay, right here in my neck. Okay, there's one of these on each side of your neck that feeds your sinuses, feeds everything all up into your head there. Now, I've got some blockage down in here somewhere, and they may or may not go in and fix it, because they're afraid that, in an effort to fix this, that they could damage my brain, give me a stroke, of which I don't have now. But on the other side, if they don't fix it and this breaks loose, it can go into one of these little teeny veins here, or whatever these are, and block it off. And then once it's blocked off, then I get a stroke. That's what a stroke is. A stroke is one of these things get blocked off. That's what happens to you. So you can get a stroke all up in this area. You see when somebody's face kind of stops moving, kind of slumps, because this thing right here is blocked. That's what pumps the blood to your face, to your sinuses. At least that's what I think. I don't know. These things are just happening to me. I'm no expert on it. I'm just trying to explain to you the things that they explain to me. and I wanted to do it while it was still all fresh in my mind, and I'll save this recording for myself. Everything that's happened to me from the beginning when they worked on my heart and I first came home and I was able to sit in front of the computer, and there was times I couldn't breathe, and I was sitting in front of the computer logging all of this stuff in for my personal use in my history. So this will have to be done as soon as I'm better. And, this might not be as bad. I don't know, because right where I'm cut is probably one of the worst places you could be cut, because it's where your body folds in half. So let me see if I can bring that up again. We'll try this one right here and see if I can bring this up. Okay. My cut is right where the fold is, right here. I have a big cut right here, and it goes up like that. So whenever I sit down like I am now, I can't really sit just straight down. I'm sitting at an angle, probably maybe a 90-degree angle or something like that. I'm sitting, and I'm pretty comfortable. And like I said, when I go to get up, all this in here burns, and it kind of hurts in here. So maybe by tomorrow. I took 2 Tylenol. They did order me some painkillers, but they got to go to the pharmacy and all that. And right now, the 2 Tylenol. Normally, when I take Tylenol, I just take 1, because the ones that I take are like 500 milligrams. So I've taken 1,000 milligrams of Tylenol, and for as bad as for what they did to me, and as bad as that pain was, the Tylenol seem to be working. And right now I've got a funny little feeling in my right ankle. Kind of feels like I got stung by a bee or something. I could feel something strange in my right ankle, right around my ankle bone. But it feels like it has something to do with my circulation. Today was the first day that I got up and walked around in the hospital. And they thought that maybe I'd be out by tomorrow, but when they seen the way that I walked around, they said, "No, you're out of here today," because it gets to a certain point where the hospital can't do anything for you, and it's time to give the bed to somebody that needs their help. And so I'll get home care. Home care will come to the house and check on my incisions, they'll check my blood pressure and all of that stuff, my vitals, my temperature and stuff like that, make sure I'm okay, and see if I need anything, see if I've got numbness in places I shouldn't have it and things like that, and make sure my circulation is okay, check, I guess, my mental awareness and stuff like that. But they'll come to the house and they'll check me out. Now this is all happening, all of this stuff is happening through my Medicaid. Everything is completely paid for. My medicine is 100% paid for. This procedure was 100% paid for. All of the stuff that you hear in these chat rooms might be true in their case, but I can only say in my case it's not true. All of this stuff is completely paid for by a government program. And President Obama wanted these programs for the people. Now, a lot of people say there isn't any difference between a Democrat and a Republican. Well, usually people that say this are young and dumb, and they have no idea what they're saying. And they're real, they've got all this romantic notion that there's some kind of revolution that they want to see take place. Well, young or old, this can happen to you. Young or old. And young or old, Medicaid will kick in because you can't work anymore. Your working days are over, whether you like it or not. And you have to be able to get some money, your income. You've got to have an income, and you're going to have health insurance. Okay? Now, Obamacare isn't health insurance. What they do is they hook you up with health insurance, and then they make sure that the health insurance companies are following the law. In other words, now, they can't discriminate against you for pre-existing conditions. I'll never have that problem because I'll have Medicaid the rest of my life. I will never pay another doctor bill the rest of my life. and I'll have income the rest of my life. Now, that's the government doing that. So when somebody tells you that the federal government doesn't do shit, they're out of their minds. When they say that the state government doesn't do shit, because Medicaid is a state program, it's not a federal program. Obama wanted to give the states money so that they could take care of us. And a lot of the Republicans didn't want it for whatever reason, mainly just to hurt Obama and the Democrats. That's mainly what it was about, hurting the Obama and the Democrats. So you're talking to somebody who is telling you the truth. This is what I'm going through. I'm going through it right now. This isn't some opinion. This isn't some link I picked up on the internet. This is the truth, and it's happening right now. Right now I could feel what feels like, and I'll be telling you that the reason I'm doing this is so that I can tell you everything I'm feeling when I'm feeling it. Right now I just felt what felt like something opening up and some circulation starting in that left leg where they operated. It felt like, to me it felt like a little balloon. I could feel what feels like blood starting to run through my leg. That's what it feels like. It just feels like these little things are opening up. Now, I don't know if it's bleeding inside or outside, but they did take an x-ray yesterday. So, everything is sewn shut. But if you start bleeding on the outside, say this area starts to bleed, what happens is you start to bruise. And that's how you know that you're bleeding on the outside. So that and I don't know how it gets up into your stool, but I think that's another thing that they watch for is as you have a bloody stool or bloody urine, things like that you've got to kind of keep an eye out for. But to me, what it feels like, and it feels real cool, but it feels cold, and it feels like things are opening up and I'm starting to get circulation. But if I lean forward, right now, like I said, I'm leaning back, and if I lean forward a little bit, and I'm going to try to do it now, I'll tell you when I start to get pain. I could start to feel the pain or discomfort. I could feel discomfort, and now I'm at about a 45-degree angle. And that's if I got my degrees right. I think 45 is, taking a quick right turn, and 90 degrees is, kind of a longer turn. So I'm able to lean forward and lean back, and now I felt like if I could feel like something, what feels like if something was draining onto my leg, but there's nothing there. It's all happening in the inside of my leg. And, it feels kind of cool. I mean, not cold cool, but cool. That they really did a good thing when they did this. Because that blockage was really dangerous. But, I just can't say enough about the things that our government does to us, for us, that we take for granted. And we're too busy listening to the Republicans tell us what our government is doing to us, when the fact is they're the ones that's doing it to us. They're supporting the rich to the point where we can't get government help. They want to control the purse strings. They want the money all sent to them, and they want to control the purse strings. Because they're of the theory that the government should take care of the rich, and the rich should take care of the poor. And the Democrats' theory is that the government should take care of the poor, and the rich should take care of themselves. Well, the rich don't want to pay any taxes because they're from the old school. A lot of them had money for generations and generations, and they think that they should control the purse strings in our country, everywhere in our country, and that they should be the ones setting up, for example, Obamacare. Now, if they would have done what they were supposed to do, instead of just keeping the profits, if they would have opened up hospitals and clinics and all of these things for the people, they wouldn't have the problems that they're having. The people wouldn't care if they had to pay more taxes. If they looked up and said, hey, no matter what happens to me, car accidents, my house caves in, I get hit by a hurricane. If the people knew that they would be taken care of, they wouldn't mind paying a tax, because you're going to pay a tax. Who it goes to is what they're fighting for. whether it goes to nonprofit or private organizations or it goes to the government. Now you've got to decide. Because if it goes to private corporations, then there isn't going to be any government to regulate it. They'll be like what's happening in football now, where the football owners hired an ex-director of the FBI to investigate that football player Lee, but this ex-director of the FBI actually works for the NFL. They're regulating themselves. So if this thing doesn't turn out the way they want, they can say, oh, well, hey, we ain't going to do that. And there's nobody that can stop them. The government is there to stop the people who can do us harm. Big people. And you might say, well, they don't do anything for us now. A lot of people are doing us harm. Well, then you're ignorant. You're ignorant. Just because you've never needed any help, and most of the people who are out there protesting are protesting for things that they don't even know what they're protesting for because it doesn't affect them. For example, the XL pipeline. That XL pipeline isn't going to affect probably 99% of the protesters out there are not going to be affected by XL pipeline. They are protesting for other Americans. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing that they are fighting for other Americans. But who are they protesting to? Not against, but to. Whose attention do they want? They don't want the oil companies' attention. They want the government's attention so that the government can stop this, because the government is the only one that can stop these multi-billion-dollar corporations. That's the only one that can stop them. But they've got people believing that they know what's best because they know how to make money. We know how to make money, so we know how to run this country. That's what Romney would say. He says, look, I've run businesses before. I know how to run a country. I've run businesses before. And then you find out that the businesses that he ran would put people out of work. Is that what you want? Is that who you want running your country? Is somebody who will say, okay, well, you know what? You're not really the kind of person that we want in our society, so you're out of here. And who's going to stop him? He is now the government. Is that who you want running your government? Well, if you stay at home and you don't vote, that's who's going to run your government. I'm set for life. 55 and younger, there's where the fight is. Every time you hear that they're attacking Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, they are attacking 55 and under. So if you're under 55, it's you that have to do all the fighting because you're going to suffer the most. You're going to suffer the most if the government isn't able to protect you because the Republicans come in and break the government. The reason they don't care if they shut down the government is because they don't need the government. The only time they need the government, and we're seeing it right now with ISIS, is for us to put our kids in uniform and go fight their wars. And the only way they can do that is to scare the hell out of the American people and say, ISIS is coming to get you. ISIS is coming to get you. If you don't send your armies over here now, ISIS is coming to get you. That's what they're saying. So it freaks out the people that are ignorant. It freaks them out because they don't understand their government. They don't understand the responsibility of the government to the people. So now they're on the bandwagon. Oh, we got to send our boys over there. Well, will you want to send your son or your daughter, your grandson, your niece, your nephew, your brother? And then he gets over there. Now there's no turning around and coming back until they say you can come home. He gets blown in half. Well, you just seen from my operation here, he doesn't need his legs to live. They can cut his legs off, close them arteries right in here. He can close you off. From here on down, they can close you off. Right in here. Let me get this picture for you. Right up in here. They can chop that off, get rid of your legs, and send you home. That's what they can do. They've always been able to do it. They can just do it a lot better now. And then maybe give you some of those artificial legs. Do the same with your arms and everything else. And then when you wake up, they're going to tell you, thank you for serving your country. Well, that's bullshit. You aren't serving your country. You're protecting the rich who won't protect you. Then they come home and then they have to fight to get VA, which is government, which is funded by Congress. Guess who's running Congress? The rich. They say, well, the only way that you can get any help is we want you to make sure that you can pay for this. We don't want you taking money from someplace else. We want to see how you're going to pay for this. How you're going to pay for that soldier getting his legs put back on his body. And if you can't figure out a way to pay for it, guess what? He's not going to get any legs. Because the Republicans aren't going to fund it. Or you can vote in the Democrats and stand a better chance that we won't go to war and your son won't lose his legs and won't need VA. Doesn't that sound like a better plan? It does to me. That's why voting is so important. So that when your turn comes, you can get the benefits that I got. And I got these benefits because people voted. They took the time out of their day, no matter how hard it was, no matter how they tried to stop them, and they voted. In some cases, you could legalize pot by voting. In other places, you can vote to get in a representative who's going to go to Congress and make sure that we do have Medicaid and Medicare, and make sure that our infrastructure is strong, and that our bridges and our roads and our water is clean. And that they can't steal the electricity and charge us all this ridiculous money. Not because they need the profits, because they make plenty of profits. But to limit their profits by taxing them is how you do that. There was a time when the taxes were 90% and they still had millions and millions of dollars. Well, you know, if they would lower some of the costs of things, a person could live on $7.25 an hour. Very damn well. A person can live on $7.25 an hour. I remember when I made $3.18 an hour, and I lived pretty damn good. Why? Because my rent only costed $63 a month. Gas was only 15 cents a gallon. You could buy a house for $16,000, $18,000. Nice houses, brand new homes. You could buy it for that. You don't need to raise the wages if you lowered the cost of things. It's just history. You could look at it and you could just see it. But they don't want you to see it. They don't want the spotlight on them, how much money they're making. But we hear it all the time. ExxonMobil makes, $40 billion in profits this quarter. That's only 1/4 of the year they made that. Because somebody voted in the Republicans. And because only 30% of the population, the people that are eligible to vote, voted. And guess who the majority of that 30% was? In a lot of cases, Republicans. Because they vote. Guess who the majority of that 70%, the people who didn't vote, was? Democrats. Democrats. The people that need the government the most didn't vote. How did we get these programs like this? Well, there was a time that the Democrats and the Republicans worked together. And they would do these programs together. And then the Republicans would say, okay, we're going to do this for the poor people, but we want you to kind of take it easy on the rich people with these taxes. And then the Democrats would say, okay, as long as, when we have problems, we got health care, and, these gas prices can't get out of control, because if the gas prices start going too high, that becomes a rippling effect. The first time you start seeing gas come up, that's a rippling effect. Because our country operates on gas. It costs you more money to go to work. So now you need more money to go to work. It costs the trucking companies, for example, to transport our goods across the country. So now that trucker needs more money. That trucking company needs more money. Guess where that money comes from? It doesn't come from profits. We hear it all the time. They say it all the time. We'll just charge the people more money. Not even thinking what's going to happen to the economy. Instead of saying, guess what? We did good for 10 years, 15 years. We've done really good, fellas. Let's just go ahead and not make as much this year. But they say, well, that ain't gonna go over very well with our stockholders. If you try to explain to the stockholders that you didn't make as much this year as you did last year because you don't want to affect inflation. Because if you start raising the prices, they're going to have to raise the wages, and then the next thing you know, we're going to have a war between the rich and the poor. And that's what's going on now all over the country for all kinds of reasons. It boils down to people don't make enough money. It isn't that they don't make enough money. The prices are too high. Them are the only things going up. Everybody who's been watching the economy knows the only thing that's going up are the prices. And then if you try to raise the wages for people that work at McDonald's, you can't just say that the guy who's at the checkout is going to make more money without saying his manager isn't going to make more money. How's that going to fly? You're a checkout guy working at McDonald's. Maybe you might think of, McDonald's is your last stop. That's not unheard of for people to want to move up in the McDonald's corporation. Not everybody stays at the cashier. You could become a manager, and then you can become a regional manager, and then maybe you can have your own franchise. None of that is unheard of. It can happen. It's probably harder to do now, but there is advancement. So what are you going to tell that manager who's making $15 an hour now that the guy at the cashier makes as much money as he does? What are you going to tell him? Because you know what? He ain't going to like it. Because now he's thinking, well, wait a minute. I'm the boss. I got all the responsibility. Why is that guy making as much money as me? Now you've got a labor war. Labor's fighting labors. Then you've got what's called a company man. Now you're fighting the company man, but it's just people fighting people. All because they had to raise the price. So when they raised the price, it affected the economy. It affected our ecosystem. And now everybody's got to get a raise so that these people don't lose any money. And by not losing any money, I'm talking about their futures. That's what a lot of this stock market is all about. Futures, betting on futures. That's what it's all about. And that's why we need a government to stop some of this illegal activity in futures alone. Stop people from betting on both sides of the table. That's what you need the government for. But a lot of people are out saying the government doesn't work. Well, do you vote? No, I don't vote. Why vote? They're both the same. I'm here to tell you they're not the same. I'm living proof that they're not the same. Republicans would have let me die. That's simple. Republicans would have let me die. And I am in a place where, I'm like in the middle of the beehive when it comes to Republicans, but it's changing. I hit Florida at the right time. We may have a new governor and he may be a Democrat. And if he's a Democrat, then he's going to get that money that President Obama's offering for Medicaid. And we're going to get Medicaid for not just people like me, but for everybody who can't afford health insurance. And there's a lot of people that make, 15, 20 grand a year. Sounds like a lot, but it's not when you start figuring in the cost of living. You can't buy a house with that kind of money. You can't buy a new car. All that affects the economy. And in the meanwhile, the gas doesn't know whether it's going to go up or down or sideways or what. Fruit and vegetables don't know if they're going to go up or down or sideways or what. That's what has to be regulated. And who's going to regulate it? The Democrats, not the Republicans. They ain't going to regulate that. They don't want to regulate prices. They'll regulate labor, but they won't regulate prices. That should tell you where they stand. They'll shut down the government because they don't need the government. But do they shut down the part that's not going to pay them? Do they get penalized? Like if somebody else went out on strike? You get unemployment sometimes if you go out on strike. Sometimes. But not too often. Because you're not going to work and you're volunteering not to go to work. So you don't get unemployment. When I was in a union, we had a thing called vacation pay. What the union did was went ahead and grabbed that money that we would get twice a year and funneled it back to us because now we didn't have an income. And they just hoped that that would help us through the time and maybe the strike wouldn't go on that long. But the people in Congress, when they go on strike and shut down the government, they still get paid. But the people who work in the government, the little secretaries and whatnot, they stop getting paid. I mean, where is their incentive to keep the government running? Plus, most of them are millionaires. And if they should run on hard times, they do like that McDonald's did and contact one of their rich friends and say, hey, listen, times are a little hard here in Virginia. Can you kick me out some money? I need a nice little car to drive around. My Rolex watch that I had before this is, it's starting to wear thin. So I need a new watch. I need somebody to pay for my daughter's party. And you start having things like this start to happen. And it's illegal. But if there was no government, it wouldn't be illegal. So when somebody tells you there's no difference between a Democrat and a Republican, don't believe them. There is a difference. And I'm living proof. Like I said, the Republicans would have let me die. And they'll let you die because this could happen to you. Any of this could happen to you. I'm not unique. They don't have whole wings or whole hospitals dedicated to this kind of thing just because this happens to one or two people. The hospital that I went to was one of the best hospitals in Florida, maybe even in the country. But that's all they did. Their main thing was, well, fix your heart. And they did. And I'm telling you, that's the only thing I never had any trouble with. Yeah, when they first did it and everything, it leaked. They had to go back in and fix it. But they went back in and fixed it. And I don't have any trouble with my heart. I had trouble with my lungs, my carotid arteries, and that big old vein in my leg, and I had problems with, little things here and there. But my heart worked fine. It worked fine. But if the Republicans were completely in charge to where the federal government wouldn't get involved, Eric Holder wouldn't show up. Haven't you noticed how many times Eric Holder himself shows up to these things? Do you think that if he was a Republican district attorney of the United States, do you think he would be coming to Ferguson? Do you think he would have got involved when Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin? Do you think that he would be getting involved in all these civil rights issues because we can't vote right? Because they're trying to mess with our voting? Illegal gerrymandering? Do you think the Republicans would have got involved in that? 70% of people don't vote, and these are the kind of problems we have. And these are the kind of problems that could be solved if the 70% would just vote. And then you've got people out there saying voting doesn't matter. And they make it look like they know, and they don't even vote. They don't even vote. Or you'll get some that say, I voted for Obama twice, but I wouldn't vote for him again. I think they're damn liars. I think they're liars. Because it isn't about Obama. And it isn't about the Democrats. If you really know why you voted for a Democrat or you voted for President Obama, take a look at that diagram there. That's what you're voting for. You're not voting for President Obama. You're not voting for the Democrats. You're voting for people that will help you make sure that you have the things you need to survive and live well in this country. Education, health care, clean food, clean water, safe cars. All the things that the governments do, that the Democrats happen to work hard to get it done. Are the Democrats perfect? No, but neither are you. I don't know how anybody could expect the Democrats to be perfect when they're not perfect. But people do. They expect you to get out there and put the bankers in jail. All the bankers ain't in jail yet, so the government's corrupt. That's what they say. That's their ignorance. That's their ignorance. They don't understand how the system works. So because they don't understand how the system works, they want to get rid of the whole damn system. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's do that. That makes sense. That's easier for me to do. And then you talk to them. And you find out they ain't got shit. They don't have shit. Their life isn't going anywhere. So they want to drag everybody into the mud with them because they can't pull themselves out. They can't fight to get some of this stuff done, so they're going to pull everybody down into the mud with them. And that's what you're hearing these people do. Is it working? Yes, it is. It is working. When 70% of the American people who are eligible to vote don't vote, it's working. And when 30% of the people that are eligible to vote run the country the size of the United States, and it turns out that more of them are Republicans than Democrats because the Republicans took over the House. It turns out that Republicans vote and Democrats don't. I'm trying to lead forward here. Like I said, it's not perfect, but they did some serious surgery to me. They cut me up pretty good. But you know, this isn't something that you're gonna pray to get well. You know, this isn't something that you're going to hope to get well. You can't take vitamins to fix this shit. You can't start eating better. You can't get some good advice either. You need surgery. And then the surgery has to be paid for. And believe me, this is very, very, very expensive. But because of our government, because of the way that our government, our country is set up, if you can afford to pay insurance, you're making pretty good money. But should you not be in that category, okay, then you can get this taken care of. You can get this sort of thing taken care of. People talk about Canada, how wonderful it is. I can tell you I'm exactly like Canada. I am operating exactly like Canada. I don't pay for my medicines, and I'm getting good medicine. You know, it's not showing up in a rusty old, dirty old plastic bottle. I go to the best pharmacists. I deal with really good people that care, you know, that ask me questions. How are you feeling? Do you have any questions for the pharmacist? They're getting paid. So they're happy. Then they pay taxes. But they don't sit there and say, well, you know, you're getting all this shit free and I'm paying for it. Like some people say, that cop works for me. I'm his boss. Well, you're an idiot. You're an idiot if you think you're a cop's boss. And they'll show you in a minute that you're not. That cop works for all of us. You have rights. No doubt about that. No doubt that you don't have rights. Guess how you got them rights? Somebody voted for them. Yeah, somebody voted for them. Your Miranda Act, for example. When the cop says you have the right to shut up and sit down, get yourself a lawyer and all that stuff that he tells you, how do you think you got that? Think it just came about? It didn't just come about. The right people were voted into Congress, and then Congress voted it into law. That's how you get things done. Protesting is good. It brings attention to the problem. But if you just bring attention to the problem and you don't do anything about it, like something as simple as voting, you've just wasted that attention. Your 15 minutes of fame was wasted. And that's just the way it is. I didn't make it up. But I'm just here witnessing, telling you that this is what your government will do for you if you end up like me. And guess who all the people that did this work were? Private industry, corporations that decided it was better to work with the government than against it. The health industry has always worked with the government because, they have ethics. They still have ethics. And people are still important, and it doesn't matter how much money you got or don't got. I can tell you that the room that I was in was very nice. I was on my bed. This cracked me up. Not only did they scan my hand and then I signed electronically, but my bed was a computer. When I laid on, it was a trip. I got to tell you, this was great. I laid on this bed, right? And I'm all messed up. And the bed automatically weighs you. You don't have to get up and off the bed to go get weighed. Come on, Mr. Lucero or whatever, you got to get weighed. They didn't do that. I laid there. And they said, well, just a minute here, I gotta weigh you. And I was already gearing up for the pain, and I was going to get up off that bed. And I said, she said, that's all done. I said, what's all done? She said, we just weighed you. Told me how much I weighed. I didn't have to get out of that bed at all. But not only that, there's a program in that bed that would change the shape of that bed to my body constantly, automatically. It would, if I turned or scooted or sat on even if I just sat on the edge of the bed, that bed started to fill up and mold itself around my body. So I don't know if you've ever been in a hospital or if you've laid in a bed that wasn't too comfortable. You had to lay there too long. Your back started to hurt and you had to turn over and roll over and, you were sweaty or whatever. It was just uncomfortable. This bed and every bed in that hospital had that. Every bed had that kind of bed. You didn't have to be rich to get that kind of service. But how long was the rich people getting that kind of service? Because that wasn't new technology. That was just technology that people with money could afford. Well, now everybody's getting it. Not because somebody protested on some street, but because our government went to battle. And now, if you've got pre-existing conditions, they can't take that away from you and say you can't get health care anymore. They didn't get that by protesting. The government did that for you. And why did the government do it? Because we voted the right people in. And that's what voting will do for you. And that's just the way it is. I didn't make it up. I'm telling you the truth. I'm a witness. And this ain't a link. I didn't get this from Google. I didn't have to Google this. What I had to Google was these pictures. That's what I had to Google. And I put the pictures up to show you what I'm talking about. And I wanted to do this live while I could still remember everything. Because one of the things that happened when they messed with my heart like that is it kind of tinkered with my memory. I had a stroke. And one of the things that happens to you is your memory. But it's not like you think it would be. It feels like when you put your keys down and you can't remember where you put them. That's what it feels like. Except for, I guess it happens on more and more on different things. And it's hard to say if that actually happened to me. I know that happened to me before I had the stroke, but I wasn't always losing my keys. I'm not as good at chess as I used to be. But I'd be dead if it wasn't for the government putting these things in place. The only people I ever want to hear arguing this sort of thing with me is somebody with some experience, not somebody who's got a bunch of links and videos and all that shit. I want somebody to sit there who's had some part of their heart replaced, or maybe they got a liver or a lung, or maybe they have cancer and they're getting treatment. Them are the people I want to talk to. I don't want to talk to a Google expert. I want to talk to a survivor. That's who I want to talk to, because that's who you're talking to. You're talking to a survivor. I'm Artstarzz. That's just my opinion. Have a good day.